everyone! So in my May favorites video I was talking about a product or a tool I guess that I was using a lot and that I was loving, and I like it so much that I decided to do a product spotlight video on this. And if you haven't seen my other product spotlight video, this is the second one that I've ever done. It's basically just videos where I'm going to take products that I'm super interested in those specifically and do a whole video just talking about them, talking about how to use them, why I like them, etc, etc. So the first one was on the NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer and it'll be linked down below. You can go watch that if you like to see these types of videos, but basically today I want to talk to you guys about the Beauty Blender sponge, and this sponge is just, it's amazing. You've probably heard of this sponge before if you watch a lot of beauty videos or you read beauty blogs. It's kind of a cult favorite product, and it came out I think more than a year ago because I know I've been hearing about it for a really long time, but I only just picked it up a couple weeks ago and I am just in love. So basically when you buy it, it is small enough to fit in this little container, which this sort of can, but it fit in a lot better when you bought it. So this is still partially damp from when I used it this morning. When you use your Beauty Blender, you want to saturate it with water by turning on the faucet and running this underneath it and squeezing it out a couple times after you get it all filled with water. So when I use it, it's usually about that big, and I think that's just to help kind of cover more surface area. I don't really know why they want you to get it wet, why that improves it. It also might improve the texture of the outside of the sponge for blendability. So basically you get it really wet and then you dip it in your foundation, and what some people do is they apply their foundation with their fingers like in little dots all over their face and then blend it in with this. But what I like to do is just apply a big glob of foundation to the back of my hand like I usually would for using a brush, and then dab the tip of this in it, like smear a little bit and then dab it onto my skin directly. I find that that just gives me more even coverage. The shape of this is really, really great because you have the big round end, which you can get your cheeks with, you can get your forehead, just big surface areas all at once, and then you also have the pointed part, which is really good for getting the crevices of your face, like around your nose and like just, I don't know, just weird places and underneath your eyes. Oftentimes I'll blend my under eye concealer with this. I find that it just makes it look more natural, and I just kind of look up and dab, dab, dab and just blend it out that way. The thing that sets apart this sponge from other sponges is the texture on the outside, how smooth they got it. It is actually the texture of suede. If you ever have like a suede chair or yeah, a suede couch or something, this is that texture. It's so smooth and velvety, but it's also textured enough to like look like real skin. So it just sort of presses your makeup in really, really nicely. I find that it gives you extremely even coverage. It doesn't get splotchy. It doesn't deposit more makeup in one place than another. It just is super, super even wherever you're gonna put it. And because I do use it directly like from the foundation onto my face, I just get it everywhere and it doesn't look, it just looks perfect. I'm so happy with it. There are lots of different stores that carry dupes for this product, and from what I've heard, I haven't tried any of them, but from what I've heard on YouTube and on blogs and on reviews, none of them have come anywhere near close to being as good as this one. So personally, I would say just go for this one. Yes, it is expensive. These retail at my Sephora for about $22, I believe, but depending on where you get them, they can be up to $35, especially in different countries. I know in Canada it's $32. So it is very expensive, yes. However, if you're going to go buy a knockoff sponge thinking that it's going to do as well as this, from what I've heard, it won't be, and it isn't really worth your money to get something that you already know isn't going to be as good. So I would definitely read up on reviews and make an educated decision about whether or not you want to get this. Yes, it's expensive. And the other downside to this, there is a big downside to having a beauty blender, and that is that you cannot 100% clean it. So when I clean my beauty blender, I use the method that Tati, or I believe her username is Glam Life Guru, uses, and I will link her video talking about it down below. But basically what you do is you take your beauty blender and you take a bowl of water, and you want to make sure it's a microwavable safe bowl, and you just fill it not all the way to the top with water, but just some water, and then dunk your beauty blender in it and then microwave it for 30 seconds. And the reason that this works is because the heat of the microwave kills the bacteria living in the sponge, and it's the same as if you dishwash, or if you put your sponges that you use for dishwashing in the dishwasher, it's going to kill all the bacteria and make it like fresh and new again. So the same thing happens here, and it doesn't seem to damage the beauty blender. I've done it several times, nothing's happened, but do only stick to 30 seconds because beyond that, like, I don't know what's going to happen. And then after that, you can take it and wash it like you normally would. I have a video back in my channel on how I wash my makeup brushes, and I basically do the same thing with this sponge. I dunk it in water and I use baby shampoo to clean it, because Beauty Blender, the company Beauty Blender, they also sell a cleanser that is specifically for the Beauty Blender, but looking at the ingredients of that versus like other makeup brush cleansers, They're the same thing. So there's nothing special about the cleanser that you can buy from Beauty Blender. It just is expensive, and it's kind of a marketing, not scam, but like, I don't know what it's called, a device, I guess. Here you have a special product, and here we have a special cleanser. So don't fall for that. Just use baby shampoo or whatever makeup cleanser you have. Clean it as well as you can, but you will never be able to get the foundation off the tip of this. This Beauty Blender is clean, and as you can see, there is quite a bit of foundation buildup on the top. That's kind of as good as it's going to get. You can clean it as much as you want. It's still going to stain. They also just started carrying, well, not just started, a while ago, started carrying a Beauty Blender that's called the Pure Beauty Blender, and it's basically the same thing, but it's white. There's no difference really in the sponge as far as I can tell, except that the white one's going to look a lot worse, a lot faster, because the foundation is just going to make it tan, whereas here it's kind of isolated just to the tip, for me anyway, because I use it mostly on the tip. Before you use your Beauty Blender, you want to get it wet. So what I do is I turn on the water, and I use hot water because that will help kill any bacteria that are hanging out in here. Sponges are a big magnet for bacteria, so you definitely want to watch out for that. But so I use hot water, and I squeeze this a few times to get the air out and suck the water in, and it grows to not double this size, maybe 1.5 times this size, probably like that big. And then you want to squeeze all the water out, like get it as dry as you can. I like to squeeze it in a Kleenex a couple times to like soak up more of the water, and then you're ready to use it by dabbing it in your foundation and putting it on your face however you want. Bacteria has a field day when it's on sponges, so when you're using this to apply to your skin over and over again, you might have blemishes, you might have some oil, whatever it is, it's going to get sucked back into the sponge, and that is just bacteria, like, that's their Bahamas. They want to be there all the time. They love that kind of climate, especially when it's damp like the sponge is. Bacteria is just going to love it there. So I try to wash my Beauty Blender every 2 to 3 uses just to kind of keep the bacteria at bay as well as I can. But you cannot use the same sponge forever. It will not be good. It'll cause breakouts eventually, and it's going to get caked in here because you cannot get all the foundation out. So the texture of the sponge on the tip here is not going to be very good. It's going to be kind of filled with stuff, and the blendability isn't going to be anywhere near as good as it once was. So you want to replace your Beauty Blender every 1 to 2 months depending on, well, for one thing, if you can afford it. If you use your Beauty Blender every day, I would say definitely replace it at least once a month. It's just going to just be bad for your skin if you keep using the same one over and over again. Even if you do wash it, there really is no way to get everything out of here, which is just a shame. But if you use your Beauty Blender only for like blending in your T-zone, or only every couple days, or just for blending in your concealer, then I would say you could probably go 2 months. If you're washing it regularly, you'll probably be okay. But as soon as you start to notice getting breakouts that you're not accustomed to, like you don't know a reason for them, it's most likely your sponge and it's time to replace it. If you go to the Beauty Blender website, which I will have linked below, you'll see that they do something really cool, and that is that they have a recycling program for these sponges. So instead of throwing it out every time you're going to replace it, especially if you're replacing it every 1 to 2 months, it's a lot of sponges to be just tossing in the trash. If you send it back, they will recycle it for free, and that just seems like a really cool thing to do. I've never heard of a company, maybe I have, I don't know, I've never heard of a makeup company having you send back old things and them actually recycling them, except for Lush. So yeah, it's just a really cool extra thing they do, I think. Beauty blenders are also latex free, so if you have an allergy to latex, you're totally fine to use this. There are 2 major downsides to having a beauty blender in my opinion. The first one being is that you can never get it 100% clean. It's always going to have some residue in it, some bacteria in it. There's just no way around it. And the other kind of relates to that is that since it's taking in all this bacteria and all these products, you have to replace it every once in a while, and it is darn expensive. This is not a cheap sponge. It's not something that is really a sustainable thing to use all the time. You need to kind of balance out when you're going to use your beauty blender, when you're going to use your fingers, when you're going to use a brush. It's just not a cost, for me anyway, that's sustainable to pay every time I need to replace it. So obviously it really sucks that for being so expensive and for being so difficult to clean, it is the best sponge on the market. It is incredible. It will give you the most gorgeous, flawless finish. It'll cover up blemishes. It'll just do all this amazing stuff. It's like snapping your fingers and like, boom, perfect face. It's super easy to use. It's just the best sponge that I've ever encountered. And I would really recommend that you try this out at least once and see if you don't love it. But at the same time, if you know you can't afford it, maybe don't try it because you will be hooked. I promise you. One last thing, do not share your beauty blender with anybody else, because a lot of times when people are doing each other's makeup, they'll think, okay, well, I can do their face makeup because there's not as much bacteria as eye makeup, and then they just use different mascaras. Sponges are going to hold on to bacteria from your skin, like I already said, so much more than any other product, any other tool. It's really bad to be transferring oil and dirt and bacteria and just nasty things from one person's skin to another, use your own, please. If any of you guys have a beauty blender dupe that you really like or you really dislike, let me know in a comment below, and if you guys want, I can do a comparison video comparing a dupe or a couple dupes to the performance of the actual beauty blender. I hope that you guys enjoyed this product spotlight video. Let me know if there's any products that you'd like me to do a product spotlight video on, just talking about that product, how to use it, and everything like that. Don't forget to leave a comment down below talking about any dupes you might have or what you think of the beauty blender. Do you like it? I know there's some people who really don't like beauty blenders. I can't even imagine because I am just obsessed. But let me know what you think in a comment below. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it and subscribe if you haven't already. I hope that you guys have a fantastic rest of the day, of the night, of the week, of the summer, whatever, whenever you're watching this, and I'll see you next time.